It's interesting the elements that comprise a real-side dream experience. The dreams are delightfully and meticulously constructed to reveal to us what we need to know now. The guides surely are very masterful and creative with their demonstrations. It then falls to us to grasp what it is the guides are demonstrating, that little nugget of information that, if realized, can move us along with becoming more aware and recognizing better the true reality of the all is. It's also a case of actualization. The guides can show us all manner of things. We can have wonderful adventures, far exceeding what we might even imagine. But it's what we glean from it and then activate or incorporate that will have us benefiting from it. Therein lies the need to step as much into our awareness as we are able, bypass the literal personal self, and recognize what the dream is demonstrating. Be assured, even the dreams that seem to the personal self rather inconsequential and may be easily dismissed, will contain something we need be aware of now. Maybe a heads-up dream, or something that is made apparent that we need to release, an agreement or attachment. And real-side dreams, where we are on our adventures, often there is much information available in the adventure, as it is demonstrating something beyond just the excitement of its content. A simple piece of awareness enhancing information, woven into the fabric of a sword-wielding, dragon-slaying adventure. For example, the dreams where I have encountered robotic worlds, where everything is mechanized. Such dreams would be generally pointing out the fate that awaits all who remain unconsciously controlled, agreeing with a self-limiting and awareness-restricting position that has them go down the road of more equally as restricting life positions, until they do find themselves as a robot. The real-side dreams are very unique, and catered toward each individual, according to their makeup. Everyone is different after all, and the guides will adjust everyone's particular dreams to suit the individual. Some people may have a morbid fear of snakes, others may like them as a species, and so for each, an animal, scene or situation can represent something different from one person to the other. Ideally, we would seek to be indifferent, to be standing real in our awareness, and be the experiencer of what we encounter with objectivity. But nevertheless, the personal self is still there, and so it makes sense that along the process the guides will make use of phobias and delights to bring a certain demonstration that, utilizing the personal likes and disdains, will better provide. Some dream elements remain fairly constant, and it is worth taking a read through dream interpretation books, and certainly listening to others' real-side dreams, and the explanations drawn from them. Certain themes and aspects and what they represent will be consistent to a degree, but everyone's experience and journey is unique and very much theirs alone, so always there is space to consider viewpoints beyond what has been expressed thus far by other real-side dream experiences. It is our experience after all. It is designed for our benefit, and so we surely will know best, and let the impressions flood in, even if the impressions we get do not sit well with us. We certainly don't want to stifle our impressions, to cut off the flow of our real self's input or intuition, or self-edit if our personal self concerns itself over how the impressions are received by others. But of course, exercising a little tact and subtlety may be necessary. You can present a statement in 1,000 different ways. There are many viewpoints, and on occasion, maybe you might just keep the viewpoint your impressions tell you is the right one private, as some of what we face, all of creation, and untangling the mess of our personal created selves, can get a little dark. There are untouched recesses that have never been addressed for quite conceivably eons, and we all will have distressing dreams, maybe past associations, attachments, and when brought to light, come with the lifetime we forged these within. And considering how we have all done the most atrocious things throughout lifetimes, as everything must be experienced for awareness and comparison purposes, it's a guarantee that real-side dreams of a very dark nature will manifest and be brought to our attention. The personal self will automatically then be on the defensive, get a little overwrought, proclaim how it could never have participated in such scenarios. But to put the personal self aside is more prudent, and regard all experiences, no matter as to the dark nature of them, objectively, and with detached indifference, that we can interpret their demonstration more effectively from our real self perspective than through the literal consideration of the personal self. Peter, my father, had a dream where he was a demonic creature and his immediate reaction was that he isn't this creature, he is a good person. So there was the personal self jumping to the fore, labelling itself within a certain category, only able to consider itself, and dismissing of anything it thinks is not representative of that which it currently believes itself to be. But in reality, it doesn't really matter what the created consciousness of the personal self has resulted in, a murderer or a philanthropist. It's still a created self, with a created personality, and mode of decided conduct that must be acknowledged and then sidestepped, placed aside, to step into our real selves. As our real self has nothing created or added to it. It stands real, and it simply is. It isn't good, bad, or has a constructed personality. So this real side dream of Peter's would allow him an opportunity to see how he might react to being in such a frightful form. Not necessarily then that he actually was at some point a demon, but then again, we must all have experienced every form, position, and circumstance at one point or another. So he had a chance to either be with his personal self and react with horror at his form, or be objective and see the experience for how it was intended, an exercise in objectivity. The personal self always attaches labels to things, adds emotion and ideas to the experience, whereas ideally, absent of all of that, and you see the experience in the purity of its intended state. Only when the personal self adds in the extra elements do we grey out the demonstration, and it is harder then to interpret and fathom. Almost a microcosm of what we do overall. The is stands there in its pure actuality, and what prevents us from recognizing and standing real with it is all the layers and filters of the endless lifetimes, the ideas and attachments that act as obscuring layers from being in the new nowness of the is. I began by talking about all the consistent elements in real side dreams, and I have a prime example of one here. I was on the run in this dream. Seems I had been accused of a crime or other, and I knew I was guilty too. This was quite possibly a flashback to a previous lifetime, maybe when I acted in a less than sociably acceptable manner, and was caught red-handed. As I fled along a road, the evidence that seemed to vilify me manifested in my hands. It was a pair of socks. Again, the personal self would only view these as socks, and dismiss them as irrelevant. But you tend to get impressions beyond what the literal senses will tell you. As your process of awareness continues, and these real self-impressions become more and more automatic. So I knew this was the damning evidence that would prove my guilt, and I wasn't able to cast the socks from myself. They seemed glued to my guilty hands. Then later I was confronted by a female who halted my progress and demanded I confess. I pulled out then a gun, and it seems I was going to escape my fate with this firearm. But the bullets were made out of confectionery, strawberry candy sweets, and were most ineffective, as you might imagine. So a consistent element in this dream would be the socks. Anything clothing related is associated with the various life levels, depending on its position on the body. Anything below the knee, and it is very much of the physical level. So from this I can surmise that this was an actual physical level occurrence in some time, place, or life position. So why was I unable to release the socks from my grasp, as they seemed to be that which indicated my guilt? Well, we carry all our deeds and everything we ever have done and experienced in our causal memory bodies, in the Akashic records, and in the universal files. So my trying to cast away what I once had done was futile. Yes, I can hide it, but it's still there, recorded for those who wish to see, and also in my causal body, even if I deny it or not. So it was a dream then, along the lines of confronting all of creation and facing myself. Everything we have been must be faced, worked through, and all the affiliated emotional reactions that are stored with the causal memories of any event must be released also. If not, then they remain, the old traumatic experiences locked in the causal body, with the corresponding emotion we chose to add to it, like a primed idea, and affecting and restricting us to this day. Then, in the final scene, having maybe accepted my guilt, that the evidence was clear to see, and was undeniable, I unleashed a gun. Maybe the personal self thinks it can blast away its guilt, rid the accusing individuals from its presence, and somehow that makes it okay, self-deceiving itself into thinking that if there are no accusers, there is no crime, and the personal self can pretend better it never occurred, and bury it. But the gun fired not bullets, but candy. So this suggests such a tactic is doomed to failure also. One may be in denial of past life activities, but unless faced and released, they still impact us to this day. And even if one never was caught for a murder, cause and effect would exact judgment upon one, as this is the nature of creation, cause and effect. So really it's a system that polices itself, and we can better learn how our actions, our causes, result in effects, to be measured out in more unconscious lifetimes we must endure and experience. I rather liked how the bullets were candy. This was a fine touch, as one more impression took root. Candy may look innocent and sweet enough, but as we know, everything is poison, and especially food of this nature. It is guaranteed to cause electromagnetic distortion with its chemical destabilizing contents. On other dreams there have been exchanges of fire, and another consistency with dream aspects would be how the bullets represent ideas. So people are effectively firing ideas at each other. Depending on the potency of the ideas dictates the effectiveness of the bullets. If we drop our enemies, but they are unable to take us down, then our ideas are more effective. But they are still, in fact, ideas, and regardless of their potency, good, bad, or indifferent, they are ideas in creation. If we put down the guns, stop activating and launching ideas, we'd far better step into our real awareness and supersede any altercations of this manner. We wouldn't have to dodge bullets or fire bullets back. We walk around the need to engage in idea battles, a little like Neo in The Matrix. When he is ready, he wouldn't need to dodge bullets. When he is ready, he wouldn't have to. So back to my dream. I was firing ideas again, but with my candy gun. It was a deceptive gun then, as it seemed to be firing what seemed to be innocent and disarming ideas. But the ideas were laced with poison, just like the candy they were made from. So maybe the personal self was trying to profess its innocence, but the reality of the situation was, it was still guilty. The event had still occurred. It was recorded in the files, akashic and universal. So face it and accept it. Be indifferent to it and move on with the process of awareness. For every moment is new now, and at any time we decide, we can step into that new nowness of the is and stand real, but it's always a choice.